Move aside, you pathetic nobody. Oh my goodness. Move aside, you pathetic nobody. You're worthless. Customers stopped, eyes growing wide as mockery and murmurs trailed behind him. He was indifferent. He felt superior, merciless, and certain she remained helpless. But she didn't falter. Not this time. She remained upright, composed, and observed him, concealing a truth he could never imagine. Her new husband wasn't ordinary. He was a billionaire. Moments later, a sleek black luxury vehicle arrived. Out stepped men in expensive suits, their authority demanding immediate silence throughout the shopping center. The same crowd who had stared at her with sympathy now gazed at her in astonishment. This is the story of cruelty, arrogance, and the ultimate reversal of fortune. What do you think happened the moment he discovered who she was with? Hello, family. Welcome back. Before we begin, I have a small but heartfelt request. Please subscribe. Your support is what keeps these stories alive. Every time you click that button, you're helping us share voices that would otherwise be forgotten and stories that deserve to be heard. And in the comments, tell us where you're watching from. Because together, we are not just telling stories, we are keeping hope alive. Rachel stepped off the bus with the kind of quiet that comes from learning how to disappear. No one in her hometown expected her to return. And if they had, they would have expected the same girl who left years ago with nothing but 2 worn suitcases and a heart shattered by betrayal. Let them think that. It made her life easier. The fewer people who knew the truth, the safer her peace remained. She pulled her jacket tighter and walked down Maple Avenue. Nothing had changed. Same cracked pavement. Same cafes where people still judged through windows. Same memory of how she used to walk home weeping because Marcus said she humiliated him. Now she walked with her head held high, steady, careful not to draw attention. She didn't want to see anyone she knew yet. She wanted a day to breathe. Her phone buzzed. A simple message from Alexander. Arrived safely. She smiled before she could stop herself. Yes, everything's fine. I'll call soon, he replied with a small heart. Nothing dramatic, just how he communicated with her. Always gentle, never pushing, never demanding. He let her choose when the world learned she was Mrs. Alexander Hayes. No one here even knew she was married. No one knew her life had transformed. And for now, she wanted it that way. She reached her mother's house before she felt ready. The small porch light flickered like it always had. The doorbell stuck like it had when she was 19. Some things didn't want to be fixed. She lifted her hand to knock. The door opened before her knuckles touched it. Rachel. Victoria's voice stretched into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Wow, you actually came. Rachel forced a gentle smile. Hi, Victoria. Victoria pulled her into a hug that felt like being trapped in a coat you didn't want to wear. Mom's inside. She's been waiting. Then she leaned back, scanning Rachel's clothes in a single sharp sweep. You traveled light. Guess nothing's changed. There it was, the first dig, barely disguised. Rachel let it slide. She had learned a long time ago not to wrestle with Victoria's pettiness. Victoria thrived on reactions. Rachel refused to feed her. Inside, her mother stood at the table with a half-prepared dinner. Margaret looked older than Rachel remembered, though her posture stayed rigid as ever. She turned at the sound of footsteps. Oh, Rachel. She wiped her hands on a towel and gave a tired smile, the kind that said she wasn't sure whether to be happy or nervous. You made it. I did. Rachel stepped closer. How are you, Mom? Margaret hugged her, but lightly. It was warm, but it wasn't home. You should have called ahead, she said. We would have prepared something. I didn't want to make a fuss, Rachel answered. Victoria snorted. You don't say. Rachel's jaw tightened, but she didn't react. Not yet. Dinner felt like sitting on thin ice. Every sentence broke the surface a little. Her mother asked vague questions about where she'd been, what she'd been doing, who she'd been with. Victoria didn't even pretend to hide her interest. Every time Rachel paused, Victoria leaned forward, waiting for a crack she could pry open. So you're back for good? Victoria asked, stabbing her salad like it offended her. Or is this another one of your phases? I'm not here to talk about phases, Rachel said quietly. Victoria chuckled. Right. Of course. You always hated being honest about your mess. Margaret sighed. Victoria? What? I'm asking a question. Rachel placed her fork down. I came home to visit. That's all. That's all, Victoria repeated. You vanished for years. You don't call. You don't send a real update. And now you say you're here to visit like we're distant cousins. Come on. Her smile stretched, sharp. What happened? Things fall apart again? Rachel felt the old heat building under her ribs, the heat she used to mistake for shame. Now she recognized it as anger she had learned to hold steady. I'm fine, she said. Better than fine. Victoria's eyes narrowed. She didn't like answers she couldn't control. Sure. I guess fine is what broke looks like these days. Margaret reached out as if to stop her, but Victoria lifted her hand. Mom, let's not pretend. Rachel doesn't have much to her name. She's not working with a full deck right now. It's okay to admit it. We're family. Rachel kept her voice level. What makes you think I'm broke? Victoria blinked. Well, aren't you? She said it with a laugh, like the idea of Rachel having anything more was ridiculous. Rachel almost wanted to tell her. Almost. But she kept the truth tucked deep inside. She'd reveal it when she chose, not when baited. The conversation shifted, but the tension didn't fade. Margaret brought out dessert, trying to smooth things over, but Victoria kept circling Rachel like a shark, waiting for blood. After dinner, Rachel excused herself to step outside for air. That was when she heard Victoria's voice drifting from the kitchen, sharp and whispering fast. She came back empty-handed, Victoria said. I told you she would. She's still desperate and directionless. She'll be easy to manipulate again. Rachel froze, eyes lowering as each word sank in. Marcus's voice came next, low but clear. Good. That's what I need. If she's desperate, she'll take whatever help I offer. Rachel's stomach twisted. Marcus was in the house. Victoria had let him in. They were talking about her as if she were a project, a tool. Victoria laughed. Just play along. She trusts too easily, and she still sees the good in you. It's pathetic, honestly. Marcus scoffed. She should. I took care of her for years. Rachel pressed a hand to the wall, steadying herself. Victoria lowered her voice even more. And you'll get another chance now that she's alone again. Marcus sighed. Maybe. Depends how much she resents me for before. Oh, please, Victoria said. She still wants you. She's always wanted you. She'll take whatever scraps you give her. Rachel shut her eyes, not from tears, but from the sharp sting of recognition. Victoria had stayed in contact with him all these years, the same Marcus who humiliated her, cheated on her, and painted her as unstable, the same Marcus she thought she'd cut out forever. She stepped back, careful not to make a sound. She didn't want to walk in there and show them she had heard. She didn't want them to see how deeply they had underestimated her. Behind her, Marcus said something that made Victoria laugh hard. She'll be easy to manipulate again. Rachel let out a slow breath. No, they won't, she thought. Not this time. She stepped off the porch and walked toward the sidewalk, needing a moment to think, to breathe. The air felt heavier now. Everything inside the house made sense in a way she wished it didn't, her mother avoiding eye contact. Victoria's sharp interest, the easy confidence with which they spoke for her, about her, against her. None of them knew she was married. None of them knew the life she had built. They still pictured her as the girl Marcus broke. Rachel walked until she reached the convenience store, the one she used to stop at after difficult days. She paused near the entrance, letting her body calm. Her phone buzzed again. Thinking about you. Everything all right? She typed back. Just family things. Nothing new. Alexander replied. Call if you need me. I mean it. She smiled faintly. I know. She slipped the phone away and stepped inside the store. She needed water, maybe something sweet. She didn't need the pressure pressing in from all sides. She picked up a drink and moved toward the checkout line. People shuffled around her, chatting about discounts, children tugging on sleeves, a couple debating quietly over vouchers. Normal things, stable things. Then she heard it, a familiar laugh, arrogant, mocking, too loud for the space. Marcus. He rounded the corner of the aisle, his phone against his ear, his smile wide. He didn't see her yet. He was talking to someone, boasting about something trivial and foolish, the kind of conversation he always used to have when he wanted attention. She wanted to walk the other way, but she froze for a second, just long enough for him to turn and spot her. Everything in his face changed, surprise first, then smug satisfaction. Well, look what crawled back. He hung up without saying goodbye and walked toward her with a swagger that made the shoppers glance up. Rachel kept her face calm. She didn't want this scene. Not here, not with strangers. Marcus stopped right in front of her. Didn't expect to see you walking around like everything's normal? Figured you'd be hiding at your mom's. She said nothing. He smirked. What's the matter? No comeback today? He stepped closer, too close. Still soft, huh? That's your problem, Rachel. Still soft, still weak. Rachel reached for the space between them and moved aside, but he shoved her shoulder, not hard enough to knock her over, just enough to humiliate her. Move aside, you pathetic nobody. You're worthless. Heads turned. Someone gasped. A cashier paused mid-scan. A little girl stared wide-eyed at the man who seemed proud of himself. Marcus chuckled, shaking his head like he pitied her. You still walk around like you're worth something. It's amusing. Rachel straightened, calm, still, controlled. She refused to bend. She refused to give him one drop of the emotion he wanted. He waited for her to break. She didn't. That annoyed him more than anything. He scoffed loudly and pushed past her, making sure the shove was public enough for everyone to see. She watched him walk away, her heart steady, not shaking this time, not bleeding. She knew something Marcus didn't. This wouldn't end how he expected. She turned to leave the store, ready to go back to the house, ready to breathe again. She didn't know yet that he wasn't finished. He wasn't done humiliating her. And she didn't know that minutes from now, the entire shopping center would fall silent because of her. But that moment hadn't arrived. Not yet. She stepped outside, the cool air brushing her face. She checked her watch, almost time for Alexander's call. She wanted to hear his voice, but not like this. Not when she still carried pieces of Marcus's words on her skin. She took one step toward her mother's house. Then she heard a voice behind her. Rachel. She knew it was Victoria before she turned. Victoria walked quickly toward her, cheeks flushed, anger simmering. What did you say to Marcus? Rachel blinked. Nothing. Why? He just stormed past me like I ruined his life. Victoria snapped. I asked him what happened, and he said you were being dramatic again. Did you start something with him? Rachel stared at her. No, I didn't even talk to him. You must have said something, Victoria insisted, stepping closer. Marcus doesn't get that worked up over nothing. Ask him, Rachel said calmly. Victoria scoffed. He won't tell me the truth. You know how he is. Rachel raised a brow. I do. Do you? For the first time, Victoria hesitated, like the question cut deeper than she expected. Don't start with me. I'm trying to help you. By meeting with him behind my back, Rachel asked. Victoria froze. Rachel didn't say more. She didn't need to. The silence said enough. Before Victoria could respond, Rachel walked past her. She didn't look back. She didn't see Victoria's expression twist from irritation to fear. And she didn't see Marcus down the shopping center corridor, watching them both with a calculating look that meant trouble. She just kept walking, unaware that every step she took was leading her toward the moment everything would turn. Rachel returned to her mother's house with her thoughts running in tight circles. She pushed open the front door quietly, hoping to slip in unnoticed, but voices floated from the living room. Her mother and Victoria were speaking fast, nervous, their tones sharp like they had been arguing. Rachel paused near the hallway, unseen. I'm telling you, she's acting strange, Victoria said. She didn't react to Marcus at all, not even a tear. Margaret's voice trembled. Maybe she's stronger now. Stronger or hiding something? Victoria shot back. She's being quiet. Too quiet. Rachel never comes home unless she wants something. Margaret sighed. She's our daughter. That never stopped her from causing chaos before. Rachel's chest tightened. They believed a version of her that never existed, and they spoke about her like she was a problem to manage, not family to care about. She stepped into the room before they could say more. I'm back. Both women jumped like they had been caught stealing. Victoria recovered first. We were just talking about dinner. You disappeared suddenly. I needed air. Rachel looked at them both, hoping for something soft, anything that said they wanted her back for real. She found nothing. Margaret reached for a glass of water on the table. Are you staying the night? I can make the guest room. Rachel hesitated. She didn't want to stay. She didn't feel safe here. Not with old wounds opening and secrets hiding in every corner. but leaving now would cause questions she didn't want to answer. "I'll stay." Victoria forced a smile. "Good. Maybe we can talk tomorrow. Really talk." Rachel nodded but didn't trust the tone. She excused herself to the guest room, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the bed. Her phone buzzed again. "Still okay?" She stared at the message, her fingers hovering over the screen. For a moment, she wanted to tell Alexander everything, the whole ugly truth, but she stopped. Not because she didn't trust him, but because she didn't want her first real moment of returning home to be overshadowed by the past. "I'm fine. Going to rest," he replied. "Call me if you wake up." She took a deep breath, grateful he never pushed, never assumed, never demanded she open herself on his timeline. She lay back on the bed and closed her eyes. She didn't sleep long. Shouting from the hallway jolted her awake. Victoria's voice rang through the house, furious. "How could you let her back in? She ruins everything." Rachel sat up, heart pounding. She moved to the door and cracked it open. Victoria was in the hall pacing, talking on the phone. "No, Marcus, listen. She's not the same. Something's off. I'm telling you, she's going to cause problems if we don't manage it." Rachel's breath stilled. Victoria paused, listening. "Then find out. I don't know. Ask someone. She probably has no one left anyway." Rachel closed the door again before Victoria could turn around. Every word sank in deeper than she wanted to admit. Victoria wasn't worried about Rachel's well-being. She was worried about Marcus's plans and whatever secret they were hiding from her. Rachel stood there for a long moment before deciding she needed to get out of the house. She grabbed her jacket and slipped out the back door. The night air carried the soft hum of traffic from the main road. She walked toward the shopping center a few blocks away. It was open late and she needed a public place, somewhere she could breathe without feeling judged by the walls. Inside, the crowd moved lazily between stores. Holiday sales signs glowed from every window. People walked around laughing, carrying bags, living uncomplicated lives. Rachel walked without looking at anything. She wanted to stop thinking. She wanted to be numb. But fate wasn't done with her yet. She turned the corner into a wide corridor, and there he was, again. Marcus. He spotted her before she could turn back, his eyes lit up with something cruel, something eager. He was still angry, still embarrassed that she hadn't given him the drama he wanted in the store earlier. He walked toward her with that same arrogant swing in his step, like he still owned a piece of her. Rachel stayed rooted, calm, unwilling to run. "Well," he said loudly enough for several shoppers to hear, "if it isn't the princess who thinks she's too good to talk to people." Rachel kept her voice steady. "I don't want any trouble." Marcus laughed. "Too late. You already made a fool out of me back there." "You made yourself look that way," she said, quiet but sharp. His eyes darkened. "You still have that attitude. No wonder everyone gave up on you." A few people nearby slowed their steps. Marcus stepped closer, lowering his voice, but not his hostility. "You think you're somebody? You're not. You never were. You walked out on the only people who ever put up with you." Rachel didn't move. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction. He leaned in. "Do you know what your sister told me earlier? She said you came back broke and desperate, said you have nowhere else to go, and she's right." Rachel flinched before she could stop herself. Marcus saw it and smiled. "Still soft," he whispered. "Always soft." Then louder, sharp enough for the crowd to catch. "Don't pretend you have pride now. You're worthless." He shoved her again, harder this time. She stumbled back a step, but didn't fall. She planted her feet and stood tall. People stopped walking. A circle of eyes formed around them. Whispering started. Some pointed, some laughed awkwardly, not sure what they were witnessing. Marcus smirked like he loved the attention. "Look at you. Can't even protect yourself." Rachel straightened, her voice low. "I don't need to protect myself from you." "Oh, yes you do," he said. "You always will." She met his eyes with a calm he didn't expect. Not anymore. Something shifted in his expression. He didn't like that. He liked her scared, quiet, apologizing for things that weren't her fault. He opened his mouth to spit out another insult, but the sound of tires screeching outside the glass doors cut him off. People turned. A sleek black luxury vehicle rolled to a stop at the curb, not flashy, but commanding, expensive without trying, the kind that didn't belong in this small town. Marcus frowned. "What the hell?" The doors opened. Men in tailored suits stepped out, 3 of them. They moved with purpose, each step confident, controlled, powerful in a way that caught attention instantly. They weren't security guards from the shopping center. They weren't local police. They belonged to a world far higher than anything inside this building. A hush fell through the space. Even the teenagers who had been laughing at the scene went silent. The men didn't look at anyone except Rachel. Marcus followed their gaze and slowly turned to stare at her. Rachel kept her face calm, though her heart thudded once hard. She hadn't expected Alexander to send anyone. She had told him she was fine. But he must have heard something in her earlier messages, something she didn't write. The men approached the entrance. The automatic doors slid open. Their polished shoes echoed across the shopping center floor. Every head turned. One of them stopped a few feet from Rachel and bowed his head slightly in respect. "Mrs. Hayes," he said clearly, loud enough for everyone around to hear. "We've come to escort you." Marcus's face drained of color. Victoria, who had just walked in from the other side of the shopping center, froze in place. Margaret, behind her, clutched her purse like it might steady her. Rachel stayed still for a moment, letting the silence stretch, letting the truth settle in the air around all of them. Then she exhaled once and looked straight at Marcus. "My husband is waiting." Marcus's mouth dropped open. Victoria's eyes widened. The entire shopping center seemed to hold its breath. If you haven't subscribed yet, we'd love for you to join our community by hitting the subscribe button. Through our stories, we build hope and give a future to children and women who have been abused all over the world. Motivate us by subscribing and turning on your notification bell so you never miss a story that matters. Also, let us know in the comments where are you watching from and how did this story speak to you. People whispered Alexander's name before he even stepped inside. They didn't know who he was, but they felt it. His presence moved through the shopping center like a quiet shift in the air, the kind that made strangers straighten their backs and pull their voices down. Alexander walked in with calm steps. Nothing rushed, nothing dramatic. His eyes went straight to Rachel. He didn't look at the crowd or Marcus or anyone else, only her. Rachel felt her breath loosen the second he reached her side. He touched her arm gently, checking her without making a scene. "Are you all right?" he asked in a soft voice that still carried authority. She nodded. "I'm fine." He studied her face for a moment, then looked at Marcus, who tried to stand tall but failed. Alexander's expression didn't change. There was no anger, no shout, nothing loud, just a quiet intensity that felt colder than rage. "What happened?" Alexander asked Rachel. Before she could speak, Marcus forced a laugh. "This is all a misunderstanding. I didn't know she had company." Alexander didn't even glance at him. "Rachel." She gave a calm, simple answer. "He shoved me." Marcus stiffened. "It wasn't like that," he said quickly, the words tripping out of him. "She was in the way and the place was crowded and she took it wrong." Alexander's jaw didn't move, but his eyes sharpened. It was enough to make 2 teenagers near them step back. "If you put your hands on her," Alexander said quietly, "even once, that is enough." Marcus swallowed hard. "You've got it wrong." Rachel didn't add anything. Her silence cornered him more than anything she could have said. Alexander let the tension sit for a moment before turning to Rachel again. "Do you want to go home?" "Please," she whispered. He nodded once. His men closed in smoothly, making a space around the 2 of them. The crowd parted like water. Marcus watched all of it with rising panic. He stepped forward. "Wait." "Rachel, did you tell him anything? I mean, about us, about the past?" Rachel looked at him without blinking. She didn't answer. That silence rattled him. His face twitched, his confidence slipping. "You didn't tell him, right? You wouldn't twist it. You know how things went between us." Alexander lifted his head slightly. That was enough for his men to step between Marcus and Rachel with an unspoken warning. Rachel leaned closer to Alexander and said softly, "Let's go." He placed his hand lightly on her back, guiding her out. Marcus stood frozen, his mouth open like he needed to justify himself before the world collapsed under him. Victoria and Margaret hurried toward Rachel from across the shopping center. Victoria's voice cracked. "Rachel, wait. We need to talk. We didn't know. You should have told us." But Rachel kept walking. Alexander didn't look at them. His silence stung them worse than any harsh word. As they stepped outside toward the black vehicle, Victoria grabbed Margaret's arm so tight that Margaret gasped. "She's lying," Victoria whispered. "She has to be lying. There is no way she married a man like that." Margaret stared, shaken. "Victoria, please lower your voice." "No," Victoria hissed. "Did you see those men? They called her Mrs. Hayes. That can't be true. Rachel married to someone like him. She must have tricked him or something." "She wouldn't," Margaret whispered, but the doubt was there. Victoria pulled out her phone. "If she won't tell us the truth, we'll find it another way. I know someone who works with a reporter. They'll dig until something cracks." Margaret looked horrified. "Victoria, that's too far." "Not if she's lying," Victoria said, "and honestly, I bet she is." Rachel didn't hear any of it. She slid into the back seat of the car beside Alexander. The door closed. The chaos stayed outside. For a moment, she didn't speak. She felt the sting of Marcus's shove still on her skin, but the deeper ache came from what she had overheard earlier. The way her family still sided with him. The way they talked about her like she couldn't stand without someone holding her up. Alexander reached for her hand gently. "You don't need to talk about anything until you're ready." She leaned back, letting her head rest against the seat. "He hasn't changed." "Not at all." "No," Alexander agreed. "Men like him rarely do." His voice had no judgment, only observation. Rachel let her shoulders relax for the first time all evening. The driver pulled away from the curb, and the shopping center disappeared behind them. After a few minutes of silence, Alexander looked at her again. "Rachel, that wasn't the first time he behaved like this, was it?" She knew what he was really asking. She shook her head. "He treated me badly for years, but back then, everyone believed him, even my own family." Alexander's eyes softened. "And now?" She gave a sad smile. "Now they still believe him." Alexander didn't respond right away. He watched her for a long moment, then said in a low voice, "I am sorry you went through that alone." "It's different now," she said. "I'm not alone anymore." His hand tightened around hers for a brief second. It said more than any speech could. When they reached her mother's house, Alexander got out with her. Victoria and Margaret stood on the porch waiting, both pale, both trying to look composed. Victoria stepped forward with forced confidence. "We didn't know you were with someone," she said, trying to smile at Alexander. "This is unexpected." Alexander nodded politely. "Rachel needed support tonight. I'm glad I could come." Victoria blinked, clearly thrown off by how normal and calm he seemed. She had expected arrogance or distance or some kind of cold billionaire stereotype. She didn't know what to do with a man who spoke gently without lowering his power. Margaret stepped closer. "We're glad she has someone," she said, but her voice wavered. Rachel looked between them, reading every twitch, every swallowed word. Victoria was planning something. Margaret was torn, but tilting toward Victoria's influence as always. Alexander sensed their discomfort and kept his hand lightly at the small of Rachel's back. Not possessive, simply supportive. It changed the tone of the whole porch. Victoria's eyes flicked down to where his hand rested. Something sharp flashed through her expression. Jealousy, maybe? Resentment? Something ugly. Alexander gave Rachel one last look, brushing his thumb across her knuckles. "Call me if you need anything at all." "I will," she said softly. He kissed her forehead, simple and intimate, then stepped back and let his men open the car door. Victoria's mouth dropped a little at the gesture. Margaret's hand trembled near her chest. The car drove off, leaving the three women in uneasy silence. Victoria broke first. "Okay, Rachel, you expect us to believe that man is your husband?" Rachel walked past her toward the door. "Believe what you want." "That's not an answer," Victoria snapped, following her inside. "How did you meet him? When did you get married? Why didn't you tell us?" "Because it wasn't your business," Rachel said quietly. Margaret closed the door behind them. "Rachel, this is sudden. Alexander seems very, well, successful." Rachel didn't turn around. "He is." Victoria scoffed. "So what did you do? Trick him? Hide your past? Lie about who you were?" Rachel stopped and turned just enough to look at her. "No, I didn't lie about anything. He knows everything about me." Victoria's jaw clenched like that ruined her entire argument. "You expect the world to accept this when you've always needed help from everyone? Come on. What did you tell him to get him to marry you?" Rachel stared at her with a calm that unnerved Victoria. Nothing, Rachel said. I didn't chase him. I didn't ask for anything. I didn't pretend. He chose me. Victoria's face twitched with something dark. Margaret tried to soothe the tension. Rachel, sweetheart, we're just trying to make sense of things. We want to know the truth. You want control, Rachel said softly. Not truth. After Rachel went to her room, Victoria pulled Margaret into the kitchen. She's hiding something, Victoria hissed. You saw how calm she was. She's lying about him. She's hiding something big. Margaret pressed her hands together. Victoria, stop. She seemed happy. That's the problem, Victoria whispered. Rachel has never been happy. Not really. Something's off. I'm calling Sophia and she'll connect us with a reporter. They can dig into Rachel's marriage. If she's lying or hiding something, we'll know. Margaret shook her head weakly. Victoria, please. She's your sister, and she's dangerous when she hides things, Victoria said. Rachel didn't hear any of that. She sat on her bed with the lamp turned low, holding her phone as Alexander's name appeared on the screen. You didn't tell me everything, did you? Rachel swallowed. About what? About him. She blinked. What about him? Alexander hesitated, then sent another message. He once pitched a proposal to my company, a very dishonest one. He was blacklisted for it. Rachel's heart dropped. Marcus. What was the proposal? Alexander replied. He was trying to use someone's name to get access. He never said who. I think I know now. Rachel stared at the message. Marcus hadn't come back into her life for closure. He wanted access to her husband's world, and Victoria had helped him. Her chest tightened. The walls felt too close. Everything from her past was reaching for her again, even though she had climbed out. And the worst part was knowing this wasn't the end. This was only the start. Rachel barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Marcus's smirk, Victoria's suspicious stare, Alexander's worried message. By sunrise, she felt the weight of everything pressing on her again. She got up, washed her face, and tried to steady her breathing. She stepped into the kitchen, hoping for quiet, but Victoria was already there, scrolling her phone with a grin, too satisfied for this early in the morning. Margaret sat at the table, stirring her tea without drinking it. Victoria looked up. Morning, she said with fake sweetness. Sleep well? Fine, Rachel said, brushing past her. Victoria leaned her elbows on the counter. You know, it's interesting. I searched Alexander last night. Your husband is basically a ghost. Rich, private, barely any photos. Almost like he's too good to be true. Rachel kept her back to her. He values privacy. Convenient, Victoria said. Margaret tried to calm her. Victoria? No, Victoria said, eyes locked on Rachel. If Rachel wants to run around claiming she's married to some billionaire, shouldn't she be able to prove it? Rachel turned slowly. I don't have to prove anything to you. Victoria smirked. Then you won't mind when other people start asking questions. Margaret finally spoke. Victoria, enough. Rachel didn't stay to hear more. She walked out of the house and took a long breath on the porch. Her phone buzzed in her hand. Alexander. Are you all right? She answered honestly. Not really. Want me to come get you? She closed her eyes. No, not yet. He paused before replying. Then tell me what you need. Rachel wished she knew. Everything felt tangled. She started walking to clear her head. The morning air helped, but her thoughts stayed messy. She reached the small coffee shop she used to go to when life felt overwhelming. It still smelled the same. It still felt like a hiding place. She ordered a drink and found a quiet corner. As she sat, a voice startled her. Rachel. She looked up. Jennifer, an old co-worker from years ago, someone who used to sit with her on lunch breaks and complain about Marcus's ego before Rachel realized how deep his betrayals went. Jennifer, Rachel said softly. Jennifer hugged her tight. I heard you were back. How have you been? Wait, no, let me guess. Marcus already made your life hell again. Rachel gave a tired smile. Something like that. Jennifer sat across from her. He hasn't changed. Actually, he's worse now. Thinks he's some business genius. Brags about his past like he's proud of it. Rachel's stomach tightened. What exactly does he brag about? Jennifer leaned closer. You. Rachel froze. Jennifer sighed. Look, I didn't know how to tell you back then, and you were already dealing with too much. But Marcus used to brag about cheating on you long before you found out. He told people you were practice until he found someone with real value. Rachel went still. Her fingers tightened around the cup. Jennifer reached out. I'm sorry. He talked like he owned you. It was awful. Rachel swallowed, fighting the quiet ache in her chest. She thought she had grown past the hurt, but hearing the truth spoken out loud still cut deep. Thank you for telling me, Rachel said softly. Of course. Jennifer hesitated. Are you okay? Need anything? Rachel forced a small smile. I'll be fine. But she wasn't. Not yet. She left the shop and stepped outside, letting the cold air hit her face. She wanted to call Alexander, to hear his voice steady her, but something in her resisted. She needed to gather her own strength before leaning on his. She walked down the street slowly, thinking things through. Marcus cheated on her long before their breakup. He bragged about it. He talked about her like she was nothing. And now he had come back into her life pretending he cared, pretending he wanted closure. But he didn't want closure. He wanted access. Alexander had confirmed it last night. Marcus had tried to use someone's identity to get into Hayes Corporation, and the timing matched when he started calling Rachel again. Marcus didn't want her. He wanted her connection. Rachel felt anger rise for the first time in years. Not sadness, not fear. Anger, controlled and clear. Her phone chimed again. She checked the message. It wasn't from Alexander. It was a news alert. The headline punched her in the chest. Local woman allegedly manipulates reclusive CEO into sudden marriage. Sources claim troubled past and financial motives. Rachel's hands shook. She opened the article. Photos of her from the shopping center. Pictures of Alexander cropped in a way that made him look distant and cold. Quotes from unnamed sources saying she had a history of unstable behavior and clingy tendencies. Someone had fed them lies, someone close. Her heart pounded. She called Alexander. He picked up on the first ring. Rachel, did you see it? She whispered. Yes. His voice was steady. We can shut this down. I'll make a statement right now. No, Rachel said. Wait, I want to see how far this goes. I want to see who else turns on me. Alexander exhaled slowly. Rachel, don't let this hurt you. It already does, she said, but I need to know the truth. There was a long pause. I'm here. Whatever you decide, I'm here. She hung up and wiped her eyes before the tears could form. When she returned to her mother's house, Victoria and Margaret were in the living room. Victoria jumped when she saw her. Rachel? Oh, wow. So that article, that's crazy. We had nothing to do with it. Margaret nodded fast. Nothing at all. Rachel stared at them, reading every flicker of guilt. I see, she said. Victoria forced a laugh. I mean, how would they even know anything about you? You haven't been around in years. Margaret wrung her hands. Maybe someone saw you with that man and made assumptions. Rachel kept her voice soft. Maybe. Victoria's eyes darted to her phone. Well, anyway, we're here for you, always. Rachel didn't answer. She turned and went to her room. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. Unknown number. No words, just a photo. Rachel's breath caught. It was Marcus and Victoria. Not from today, not recent. Old. Marcus's arm around Victoria. Victoria leaning into him, his hand on her waist, her smile soft and secret, their heads close. Too close. The truth hit like ice. Marcus hadn't cheated on her with strangers. He had cheated with Victoria. And Victoria hadn't just betrayed her now. She had betrayed her from the beginning. The betrayal wasn't new. It wasn't recent. It wasn't accidental. It had started before Rachel even knew she was losing them. Rachel stared at the photo, her breath gone, the room spinning. Then another message came, a text attached to the photo. You should have known. They always chose each other over you. Rachel didn't remember opening the living room door. She only remembered the photo in her hand, the way her fingers trembled and the heat rising up her neck as she stared at Victoria sitting on the couch like nothing had ever happened. We need to talk, Rachel said, her voice low and steady. Victoria looked up with mild annoyance, not guilt. About what now? Rachel held the phone out. The photo glowed bright between them. Explain this. Margaret leaned closer, squinting. Is that you and Marcus? Victoria's expression didn't flicker the way an innocent person's would. Instead, her jaw tightened and her eyes hardened. She looked cornered, but arrogant enough to pretend she wasn't. Where did you get that? Victoria asked sharply. It doesn't matter, Rachel said. Explain why you were with him like that during the time I was with him. Victoria scoffed. Oh, please, it's an old picture. That's your explanation? Rachel's voice cracked, not loud but sharp. You were cheating with him while he was with me. Victoria crossed her arms. You pushed him to cheat. Rachel blinked. What? Margaret stood slowly, anxiety building in her posture. Girls, maybe we should calm down. No, Victoria snapped. She wants the truth. Fine. Marcus and I got close because you were impossible to deal with. You cried. You accused him of cheating all the time. You smothered him. What did you expect him to do? Rachel stared at her. Not betray me with my own sister. Victoria lifted her chin. He needed someone stable. Rachel felt something inside her crack. You were with him while telling me he was loyal. You were too dramatic to hear the truth, Victoria said. Rachel turned to Margaret, desperate for one person to see reality. Mom, you didn't know about this? Margaret rubbed her forehead. I thought they were just friends. You believed her? Rachel whispered. Margaret didn't answer. That was answer enough. Rachel inhaled sharply. Marcus didn't cheat because I pushed him. He cheated because he wanted to, and you helped him. You're not a victim, Victoria said. Stop acting like one. Rachel's hand shook around the phone. I'm not acting, I'm reacting. Victoria rolled her eyes. Here we go again. Same old Rachel. Everything hurts you. Everything is betrayal. Maybe look at what you did to drive people away. Rachel didn't know how she was still standing, but she forced her voice to stay level. I loved you, both of you, and you chose him over me. Victoria didn't deny it. She didn't even soften. Margaret stepped closer, voice trembling. Rachel, sweetheart, you have to understand. Marcus told us things. He said you were unstable. He said he didn't feel safe. He said you needed space. Rachel felt ice slide through her chest. What things? Margaret's eyes dropped. He said you had angry episodes, that you threatened him, that he was scared of you. Rachel stumbled back. You believe that? He was so convincing, Margaret said quietly. He said he needed help and he offered money to keep the peace. Rachel froze. Money? Margaret's silence was confirmation. Rachel's voice broke. He paid you to stay away from me, Margaret whispered. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that, Rachel said. He bought your loyalty. Victoria stepped in front of Margaret like a shield. You weren't stable back then, Rachel. Marcus said he needed protection from you. Rachel laughed once, hollow. And you needed the money. Victoria's face reddened. We did what we had to. No, Rachel said. You did what benefited you. She felt dizzy, like the floor had dropped 2 inches and kept dropping. The betrayal wasn't a moment. It was a history, a pattern. Her phone buzzed again. Another message, another strike, a video this time. She tapped it before she could think. Rachel saw herself on the screen, younger, crying, begging Marcus to tell her the truth about where he'd been. Her voice trembled, her hands shook, her chest heaved. Marcus had filmed her without her knowing. The caption read, "She's been unstable for years. Her husband deserves the truth." Rachel's stomach twisted. She felt like she was watching a younger version of herself drown, and the world was dragging her down again. Victoria leaned forward. Oh, that's not a good look, Rachel. Rachel turned, horrified. You knew he recorded me. I didn't tell him to, Victoria said. But honestly, you look exactly how you acted. Overdramatic, Margaret whispered. Rachel, this is not helping your image. My image? Rachel asked. Is that all you care about? Her phone vibrated again. A flood of notifications, comments, shares, mocking words from strangers. She closed everything. She couldn't breathe. She walked out the door without looking back. Victoria called after her, but Rachel didn't hear the words. She just walked until the street was quiet enough for her thoughts to catch up. Her phone buzzed. Alexander. Rachel, where are you? I saw the video. She swallowed hard. I need time. She sat on a curb and put her face in her hands. She wasn't crying. Not yet. She was too numb, too overwhelmed, too hollow. Her phone buzzed again. A new message, a notification she didn't recognize. Debt alert. She clicked it. A credit card account opened in her old name years ago. Debt stacked into the thousands. Another account, another, and another. Rachel's heartbeat stumbled. Her identity had been used not accidentally, not recently, for years, and only one group of people had access to the old documents she left behind. Her family. Her breath stuttered. Alexander's name appeared again. Rachel? What's happening? She typed slowly. I think someone used my identity. There's debt I never opened. Alexander replied almost instantly. I can fix this. Say the word. I will clear everything. No, she whispered. Not yet. I need to face it. She meant it. She needed to see exactly how deep the betrayal ran before she let someone else clean it up. She stood, wiped her face, and started toward the house again. She was shaking, but she was done hiding, done letting anyone else speak for her. Inside, she found Margaret whispering to Victoria, both of them silent the moment she stepped in. Rachel looked at them with new clarity. Not hope, not love, not longing. Truth. And that truth cut, but it also woke something in her. She walked past them to her room to think, to breathe, to anchor herself before confronting the rest. She needed a moment alone. Her phone buzzed again. A new message, this time from an unknown number. Rachel clicked it without thinking, and her heart dropped. It was a chat screenshot between Victoria and Sophia, her closest friend, her confidant, the one person she thought she could trust. And the messages were unmistakable. I'll send everything I know. The tabloid is paying double. She's hiding something. They want all the dirt. Rachel stared at the screen until everything blurred. Another betrayal. Not accidental, intentional, paid. Her world was shrinking by the second, pulling her into the smallest version of herself. She sat on the edge of the bed, her breath thin, her vision dimming. This wasn't rock bottom yet, but she was close enough to feel the ground crumble. Rachel didn't know how long she sat on the bed, staring at the messages from Sophia. Betrayal was beginning to feel like a language she had been forced to learn fluently. Every person she once trusted had spoken it to her in different ways. Victoria with jealousy, Margaret with fear, Marcus with cruelty, Sophia with greed. Her phone buzzed again. Alexander. Rachel, please answer me. I'm worried. She typed slowly. I'm okay. I just need space. He paused. I can come there. Just say yes. Rachel wiped her face. Not yet. Please. She meant it. She needed to stand on her own 2 feet for at least one moment before she leaned on someone else. Maybe for the first time in her life. When she finally walked out of her room, Margaret was waiting in the hallway. Her eyes were anxious, hands wringing together. Rachel, your sister's upset. Things got out of hand. Rachel didn't slow her steps. I'm not talking about this right now. Margaret followed her. We didn't mean to hurt you. We were confused. We thought Marcus needed help. Rachel turned, voice low. You believed him more than your own daughter. That wasn't confusion. That was choice. Margaret flinched, but Rachel couldn't soften anymore. She was tired of being the only one who bent. Victoria came around the corner, holding her phone. Her expression was tight, irritated. Are you going to keep blaming us for everything you ruined? Rachel met her eyes. You stole my boyfriend, took money from him, called a reporter on me, and opened accounts in my name. I didn't ruin anything. I just finally saw the truth. Victoria's lips twisted. You always exaggerate. Mom and I were just... Stop lying! Rachel's voice came out sharper than she expected. I'm done pretending. Victoria's mask cracked. You're unbelievable. No, Rachel said quietly. Just awake. She walked out the front door before either of them could say anything else. She didn't know where she was going. She just knew she needed distance before she drowned in everything she had learned. Outside, the air felt thin. She sat on the steps and let the silence press against her. Her phone vibrated in her hand. New message from Sophia herself. Rachel, please don't freak out. I can explain. Rachel stared at the text until anger burned off the numbness inside her. Explain what? She typed. That you sold my private life for money. A pause. It wasn't like that. Victoria said the reporter already knew things. I just added details. You added messages I trusted you with, Rachel replied. You sent photos from my worst moments. Sophia answered quickly. I needed the money and Victoria said you wouldn't find out. Rachel almost dropped the phone. The lack of remorse hit harder than the betrayal. We're done, she wrote. Don't contact me again. She blocked the number before Sophia could reply. She leaned forward, elbows on her knees, head in her hands. She felt hollow, tired, lost in a way she hadn't felt since her early 20s, when Marcus convinced the world she was the problem and everyone believed him. Her phone rang. Alexander again. She let it ring, but the sound cut deeper each time. When she finally answered on the 4th try, her voice cracked. Alexander. His voice softened instantly. Where are you? Outside. At the house. I'm coming. Please don't, she said quickly. I need time to think. Alexander hesitated. Tell me what happened, please. Rachel swallowed hard. Everything. Marcus used my family. My family took money to push me away. My friends sold my secrets, and now there's debt in my name that I never opened. Alexander breathed out slowly like he was steadying himself. Rachel, let me fix this. Let me help. She shook her head even though he couldn't see it. If you fix it, I'll never know who did what. I won't know the truth, Alexander whispered. The truth hurts you. Rachel rested her forehead against her knees. It hurts either way. He was silent for a long moment, then softly. There's something I didn't tell you. I was trying to protect you, but maybe I should have told you sooner. Rachel stiffened. What is it? Alexander sighed. I knew about Marcus years before you told me anything. I didn't know who he was to you, but I knew he was dangerous. I knew he had tried to use someone's name to access Hayes Corporation, and when we met, I suspected it was you. I wanted to warn you, but I didn't want to intrude on your life without your permission. Rachel felt the world tilt again. Alexander, you knew something about him and never said anything. I didn't want to come into your life as another man telling you what to do, Alexander said quietly. I was trying to respect your autonomy, but maybe I chose wrong. Rachel's voice trembled. You should have told me. You should have trusted me with the truth. I'm sorry, Alexander said. I truly am. Rachel's chest rose and fell unevenly. She didn't doubt his sincerity. She didn't doubt his care, but she suddenly felt the weight of every silence around her, every withheld truth, every decision made without her. I need time, she whispered. Please, Rachel. His voice was pained. Don't shut me out. I'm not, she said softly. I just need to breathe. She hung up before he could respond. Her hands shook afterward. She walked down the street without direction, without clarity. She didn't know what she would say to Alexander next. She didn't know who to trust anymore. She barely trusted herself to hold everything together. Her footsteps slowed only when she heard someone call her name. Rachel. She froze. Marcus stood at the edge of a parking lot, leaning casually against a street lamp like he had all the time in the world. His smile curled into something cold. He stepped closer. Rough day? She didn't speak. Marcus moved with slow, confident strides until he stood inches from her. Your husband is going to be very disappointed soon. Rachel felt her stomach twist. Get away from me. Marcus chuckled. Relax. I'm just giving you a heads up. When he learns the truth about you, he'll run so fast your head will spin. There is no truth you can use against me, Rachel said. Not anymore. Oh, sweetheart, Marcus murmured. There's always something. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded document. He flicked it open with practiced ease and held it out. You might want to see this before he does. Rachel stared at the paper. Her name, her address from years ago, her old signature. A signature she recognized. A signature she had never written. Her breath caught in her throat. What is this? She whispered. Marcus smiled like he had been waiting for her to ask. Rachel stared at the document in Marcus's hand, her pulse rising in her ears. Her signature sat at the bottom of the page in neat blue ink. The swoop of the R, the curl on the L, identical to the way she used to sign everything before she left this town. But she had never seen this paper before, never signed anything like it. What is this? She whispered again. Marcus smiled like he enjoyed her confusion. A transfer authorization. Looks official, doesn't it? She forced herself to breathe. Transfer to who? He held it up so the streetlight lit the page. To me. From Hayes Corporation. Her stomach dropped. That's insane. I've never had access to Hayes Corp accounts. I've never even... That's what makes this fun, Marcus said softly. Alexander's board won't care whether you say it's forged. A signature is a signature, and with the right timing, people will believe anything about a woman with your past. Rachel's voice caught fire. Why are you doing this? Marcus stepped closer, smirking. Because you walked away. Because you think you found someone better than me. And because you forgot who taught you everything you know about love. Rachel recoiled. You didn't teach me love. You taught me survival. Marcus laughed once, cold and sharp. Well, survival is what you'll need now. She clenched her jaw. Alexander won't believe this. Marcus tilted his head. But everyone else will. The public, his investors, his board. You're already trending as an unstable wife with a messy past. This document is the last push. Alexander will have to protect himself. Rachel shook her head, refusing to let fear swallow her. He's not like you. Marcus leaned in. Everyone is like me when their reputation is on the line. Rachel stepped back, refusing to let him see her break. I won't let you win. Sweetheart, he said, tucking the document back into his jacket. You already lost. I'm giving Alexander a copy tonight. Rachel didn't wait. She turned and walked away fast. She could hear Marcus calling her name, but she didn't stop. Her breath came quick and tight as she hurried down the quiet street. The lights blurred. The cold cut through her coat. She fumbled for her phone and called Alexander. He picked up instantly. Rachel. Her voice shook. He's trying to frame me. Where are you? Alexander's tone dropped into something firm and focused. Near Elm Street. Marcus showed me a document. He forged my signature. It says I approved a transfer from your company. I've never seen anything like it. He said he's giving a copy to your board. There was a pause, but not a fearful one. It was the sound of Alexander thinking fast. Rachel, he said quietly, listen to me. Go somewhere safe. I'm coming now. Alexander, I believe you. Those 3 words made her knees weaken. You don't even know the details. I don't need them. You didn't do this. Her eyes filled. He thinks you'll choose your company over me. Alexander's voice grew steady, stronger. I choose you, always. She let out a shaky breath, one hand pressed to her temple. I don't understand why he's doing all this. Alexander exhaled, because he's desperate. And because he thinks you're the same girl he broke all those years ago. Rachel closed her eyes. I'm not. I know, Alexander said. And soon everyone else will too. Minutes later, headlights pulled into view. Alexander stepped out of the car before it fully stopped. His expression carried none of the hesitation or doubt Marcus promised she'd see. He walked straight to her and cupped her face in his hands. Show me what he gave you. Rachel nodded and pulled up a photo she took of the document the moment she walked away from Marcus. Alexander studied it under the streetlight, his jaw tensed, but not in confusion, in recognition. Finally, he said, I know this. Rachel blinked. What? This signature forgery, Alexander explained. Marcus tried it once before on someone else years ago. Her breath caught. You've seen this? I've seen his work, Alexander said. He tried to use your name when he pitched a proposal to Hayes Corp. I didn't know then that it was you, but the handwriting, the formatting, the chain of accounts, everything is the same. Rachel felt a shock run through her. You knew he forged my name before? I suspected, but I didn't have proof. Alexander looked at her softly. I was waiting for you to be ready to talk about your past. I didn't want to force anything. Rachel swallowed, guilt pressing against her ribs. I thought you were hiding things from me. He brushed a thumb across her cheek. I was waiting, not hiding. She leaned into his palm, heart aching. What do we do now? We investigate, he said simply. We gather evidence, we expose every lie, and we end this. Rachel nodded, strength settling back into her bones. When they reached the house, Victoria and Margaret were at the door, faces tight with worry. Not for Rachel, but for themselves. Alexander didn't bother with greetings. Where are the financial papers? Margaret stammered. What? What papers? The ones Marcus paid you through, Alexander said calmly. We know about the deposits. We know about the debts opened in Rachel's name. Victoria stepped forward, face flushed. You can't talk to us like that. This is our home. Alexander didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. This is the place where Rachel was manipulated, silenced, and used. I'll speak how I need to. Rachel watched her mother shrink back slightly, not from anger, but guilt. That alone was new. Margaret whispered, Victoria, we can't keep lying. Victoria whipped around, eyes flashing. Mom, stop talking. You need to tell the truth, Margaret said shakily. He already knows. No, Victoria hissed. He thinks he knows, but he doesn't know everything. Alexander took out a folder from the inside of his coat. Actually, he said, I do. Victoria's voice cracked. What's that? Phone records, Alexander said. Transcripts, payments from Marcus, calls between you and the reporter, the forged accounts in Rachel's name, and recordings of you discussing the signature. Margaret gasped. Recordings. Alexander nodded. Your conversations weren't as private as you thought. Victoria's face drained. You can't prove anything. Alexander stepped aside, letting Rachel see the folder. She froze. At the top was her forged signature. Below it, time-stamped screenshots of Victoria texting Marcus about getting rid of Rachel for good. Something inside Rachel went very still and very cold and very clear. Victoria, she said softly, you did this? Victoria shook her head violently. No. Marcus told me to send those documents. He planned it, not me. Alexander met Rachel's eyes. He didn't plan the forgery. She did. Rachel felt the truth settle sharp and certain. Victoria wasn't Marcus's victim. Victoria wasn't misguided. Victoria wasn't confused. She was the architect. Victoria's lips trembled. I just wanted what you had. Rachel stared at her. You wanted Alexander. Victoria's breath hitched. Why you? You were always the weak one, the emotional one, the one who needed fixing. You don't deserve someone like him. Rachel took a slow breath. So you tried to destroy me. Victoria stepped back. You don't understand. If you were out of the way, he would have seen me. Alexander didn't flinch. I never would have. Victoria's face twisted. You don't know that. You would have chosen me. I'm the strong one. I'm the one who does what needs to be done. No. Rachel said softly. You're the one who hurts people to feel strong. Margaret burst into tears. Victoria, how could you? Victoria said nothing. Rachel didn't feel anger anymore, just heartbreak and clarity. And yet, the night wasn't over. Before they could say anything else, headlights appeared at the end of the street. A car, fast, pulling up to the house. Rachel froze. Marcus. What happened next would change everything. Marcus stepped out of the car with a reckless confidence that didn't match the panic flickering behind his eyes. He slammed the door shut and marched toward the porch, ignoring the way Alexander's security team moved subtly into position. He looked only at Rachel, as if she were still his to intimidate. Rachel, he said, forcing a smile, we need to talk, alone. Alexander stepped forward before Rachel could speak. You won't be speaking to her alone, or ever again. Marcus laughed, but it shook at the edges. You think you can control this? You think she'll be clean when the truth comes out? Rachel met his eyes calmly. The truth already came out. Yours is coming next. Marcus's smile faltered. What do you think you know? Alexander opened the folder he held. Everything. He handed Rachel a sheet. She looked down. Security footage from the shopping center. Not just the shove, not just the insults. Footage of Marcus cornering her. Footage of him blocking her path. Footage of him grabbing her arm hard enough to make her recoil. Marcus's face went pale. That means nothing. Alexander pulled another document. Signed statements from witnesses who heard you threaten her. Marcus's jaw clenched. People lie for money. Alexander held up a third document. A transcript of your calls to the tabloid, your voice, your number. Marcus froze. And this, Alexander added, pulling out a final paper, is evidence you attempted the same forgery 2 years ago with a different identity. Rachel watched Marcus's confidence crumble in slow motion. His hands shook. His breathing grew uneven. And his eyes darted from Alexander to the documents to Rachel, as if searching for one last weapon. You think you can pin this all on me? He said. She signed that transfer. I have it right. Alexander stepped forward with quiet finality. We know she didn't sign it. Rachel handed over the forged paper Marcus had shown her. Alexander placed it beside the verified samples Rachel's attorney had sent earlier. The differences screamed off the page. Marcus stepped back. You can't prove. We already did, Alexander said. Your printer, your timestamps, your drafts saved on your cloud account. You left a trail a child could follow. Margaret gasped softly. Victoria staggered back against the wall. Marcus grabbed at his hair, panic blooming. No. Victoria helped with that. She told me to send those documents. She told me it would ruin Rachel. Victoria's denial came instantly. You liar. You were the one who wanted her gone, not me. Marcus pointed at her. You said Alexander would notice you if she was out of the picture. Victoria's voice cracked. You're twisting everything." Alexander watched them unravel with a calm, steady gaze. "This ends tonight." Marcus turned to Rachel, tears of rage building. "You did this. You turned them all against me." Rachel shook her head slowly. "You did that to yourself." Marcus took a shaky step toward her, but 3 security guards moved at once, blocking his path. He stopped, chest heaving, face red with fury and humiliation. "You think he'll keep you?" Marcus spat. "You think you're safe now?" Alexander stepped between them. "She is safe. You're not." 2 guards stepped forward. "Mr. Hayes." Alexander nodded. They closed in around Marcus. "Wait!" Marcus screamed. "This isn't over." "She ruined my life. You ruined your own life," Rachel said quietly, "and you dragged everyone down with you." Marcus thrashed uselessly as the guards escorted him to the car. His last words were a broken echo. She was nothing, nothing. Rachel didn't flinch. She didn't cry. She didn't break. She simply watched him disappear into the night as his voice faded into nothing but noise. When the car pulled away, the street felt painfully quiet. Margaret collapsed onto the porch step, face in her hands. "Rachel, I'm so sorry. I didn't know." Rachel stood still. "You chose to believe him. You chose to hurt me. You chose to take money to stay away from your daughter." Margaret sobbed harder, but Rachel didn't move toward her. Not this time. She didn't have forgiveness ready. She didn't even know if forgiveness would ever come. Victoria wiped her face, streaks of mascara on her cheeks. "Rachel, I didn't mean for it to go this far. I wanted something of my own. I felt like you always had everything." Rachel's voice was soft but firm. "Victoria, I had nothing. I barely survived. And you still wanted to take the little I had left." Victoria covered her mouth, shaking. "I don't deserve your forgiveness." Rachel nodded once. "You don't." Silence fell. Heavy. Honest. Alexander walked up beside Rachel and took her hand gently, grounding her, anchoring her. "What do you want to do?" he asked. Rachel looked at the house. The place filled with memories of wanting love she never received, trying to earn trust that was never given, chasing acceptance that was always out of reach. She let out a slow breath. "I'm done here." Margaret choked on a sob. Victoria's shoulders crumpled inward. Rachel didn't turn back. "I'm choosing myself now," she said quietly, "and I can't do that here." She stepped off the porch. Alexander walked with her, matching her pace. As they reached the gate, he spoke again. "The charges are ready. Fraud, identity theft, blackmail. The attorneys will handle everything." Rachel nodded. "Good. You sure?" he asked softly. "Yes." Her voice didn't waver. "Let the truth do what it needs to do." Alexander squeezed her hand, pride in his eyes. "You did this. Not me. You stood up. You faced them." Rachel took a deep, steady breath. "I'm not afraid of them anymore." Reporters were already gathering down the street, alerted by the breaking news of Marcus's arrest. Cameras flickered, voices rose. Microphones pointed toward her. Rachel didn't shrink the way she once would have. She didn't hide behind Alexander. She stepped forward, shoulders squared, chin lifted. Alexander stayed beside her, but he didn't overshadow her. He let her stand in her own strength. Reporters shouted questions. "Rachel, did you know about the fraud? Why did Marcus target you? How do you feel after the betrayal? Are you afraid more secrets will come out?" Rachel lifted her voice clearly, not loud, but certain. "The truth came out. And that's enough." One last question cut through the chaos. "Rachel, what have you learned from all of this?" She paused. Her answer came from a place deeper than fear, deeper than hurt, deeper than anger. "Cruelty is loud," she said, "greedy, desperate, but self-respect is quiet, steady. And people who mistake silence for weakness usually learn the truth too late." The reporters went silent for a beat, stunned. Alexander looked at her with a warmth she felt down to her bones. The cameras flashed. Rachel didn't blink. She didn't hide. She stepped forward into the lights, unafraid, her past unable to touch her anymore. And just like that, she walked into the life she finally chose for herself.